link to it in the chat after class. So that is something to know. And your feedback is really, really appreciated because we want to keep like doing classes and various other things, and to make sure that we're proceeding at like a high quality. We want your feedback. So let's go ahead and start sharing my screen. So okay, so let's talk about ACT science. Also, if you have any questions about the homework, then like now is a very good time to ask. I don't I haven't talked about it, but like um so ACT science is that one oddball section that you don't really see in like other standardized tests. A lot of tests don't like and it sounds really intimidating, but like here's some basic information about it. So first of all, perfect homework scores. There are 5 kids who got a perfect 20 out of 20. That might have changed actually. The last time I checked the homework was like an hour ago. If you turn it in like last minute, then I can check that too. So congrats to Rohan Pavluri, Iris Gong, Delbert Nie, Benjamin Sheng, and Aiden Wen for a perfect 20 out of 20. Very, very nicely done. There were a lot of kids who also got 18 and 19s. That was also super impressive. Keep in mind that this is like half of an entire reading section. So if you can get away with like missing like 3 or fewer, then you're already doing really well. Like that's like pretty much guaranteed like a 33 or higher, which is already like really solid. So how much science do you actually need for the science portion of the test? I don't think you need much because the first time I ever took the ACT was when I was in 8th grade. Don't ask why I took it that early. It was mostly out of like parent. But the first time I took it was when I was in 8th grade. I barely knew anything about science. Like I just did like stuff that the school told me. And actually science was like the only section that I got a 36 on. Not even math. I messed up a lot on math. But in the entire science section, there's like probably 1 or 2 questions that you might actually need science knowledge. There will be one of those today, but like sometimes they don't even like ask you anything that has like much to do with science. Like 99% of the test is going to be asking about can you analyze the chart? Can you read this thing from the passage? And they insert a lot to like throw you off, but it is really not as intimidating as you think. However, this is what you do need to know. Do you like? Does anyone know? Does anyone like not know how to read a chart or interpret like a graph? I hope not, since that is like an elementary school thing. But if you do, tell me right now. Oh, 3-axis graphs, like 3D graphs, don't worry about those. They will not show up. They definitely are a bit weird to look at. Scientific investigation and design, that's kind of like broad, and I get it, but like it's not as bad as you think. Just like, can you understand like an experiment when they describe the process of said experiment? And lastly, they'll talk about models, inferences, and some experimental results. What's a? I think you're just trolling. Cool if you're good at reading charts and graphs, especially if you can do it fast. Because like the big thing about this section, along with the reading section, is that it's not actually hard. It's just very, very fast. Like it has the same breakdown as reading, where it's 40 questions in 35 minutes. And it has a lot more passages. Like reading has only 4 passages, and science has like 6, sometimes even 7. I think the general number is 6. So you definitely have to be very, very quick. So let's talk about the type of passages. There are 3. You have data representation. Basically, they give you some information in a graph or a table about something. It's kind of like the easiest in my opinion because like it just you just look at some graphs and charts. There are 2 of these. Research summaries. They will give you an experiment, and you will like an experiment, like the process and some results. There will be 3 of these. This one's like a little bit more challenging, but not too bad. And the hardest one, in my opinion, is actually conflicting viewpoints, where it gives you like a bunch of different theories for like one thing. I say this is the hardest because it is by far the most time consuming. Like you have to do a lot of reading, and that choose out a lot of your like 5 minutes per passage time, but there were only one of these. So with that being said, I recommend you save this one for last because there will only ever be one. So there are 6 passages, 6 or 7 questions in each. You have about 35 minutes. Spend about 5 minutes per passage. Seventh passage will probably be one of data or research. I'm not totally sure on like if there's exactly 6, but generally. Okay, so lastly, some tips. Do not worry about big science terms. There are a lot of science terms. They will throw you like I don't have any examples like sitting in front of me. Actually, I'm gonna glance at the like if you want to glance at the sample passages, then you can see them. But there will be some big science terms like calorimetry. You probably like if you don't know what that is. If you do know what that is, brag about it in chat. I don't care. If you don't know what that is, you are totally fine. It is okay. If you don't know what like I'm trying to think of like a big science term, but I like what's it called? I'm not. I'm trying to think like if you don't know the like chemical formula for glucose, you're also totally fine. Don't worry. In fact, like don't worry about words. You like there are going to be words you do not need to worry about them. You don't need to name it like the big thing will be the visuals and the charts. The exception is the conflicting viewpoints one. That one you will have to like focus on the passage and the words. If a question will ask about a passage, it will generally indicate it. Pay attention to the labels in the charts. I know, like I remember there was this one like completely trick question where they asked about a chart, and then like the fine text was like, oh, this data was taken 2 weeks ago, and then like the question was asking for like something about like 1 week ago, and it was actually in like the passage or something else. I don't know, it was really weird. But it was like a total trick question. It basically threw everyone off. And so make sure you pay attention to fine text. And the last one is the conflicting viewpoints passage, the one I mentioned before. It will be the longest. So when you take like a practice test, make sure to save it for last. There's like something sticky on my tablet. So like, okay, so lastly, here is a warning about the ACT science section because see, in my opinion, content-wise, it is probably like the easiest. Like for English, you need to be very, very, very familiar with like every grammar rule in existence. Well, okay, maybe not that much. Like you need to be familiar with a lot of grammar rules. Math is self-explanatory. If you're not in pre-cal, then you will not get a perfect score. And if you're doing reading, then you still need to be like it's very difficult to get a good reading score unless you're really like fast at reading, and like good with finding information and stuff. But ACT science definitely requires like the least prior like knowledge, like charts and graphs. Like you were taught to read those in like elementary school, possibly a bit of middle school. So it requires the least prior knowledge. Say for like those 1 or 2 like actual science questions. I think there were like one. But it also has a very, very, very strict curve. Like I actually dug through a few, and like you to get a 36, you pretty much have to get a perfect score. There are a couple of exceptions, like for very hard ACT science sections, then it's like okay to get like one wrong, but that's kind of a rarity. Most of the time, you have to get a perfect. And sometimes a single mistake will actually bring you down to the 34. So I don't know if you guys are expecting like a perfect score or if you're just expecting a good score, but either way, you want to keep your score really high because like, and you should be striving for like something like relatively close to perfection. So one thing that I want to point out is that you should be on the lookout on what you're like if you end up like not getting perfect scores. Is it because the questions are difficult? Is it because you just made a couple accidents and you'll fix it later? Or is it because you just did not have time? And if it's the latter, then there's like some pretty specific practice that you can do, but I can talk about that after if it comes up. So finally, I just like threw in some random terms that can and will show up, and I am pretty sure like people will be familiar with these, but just in case, here is like a nice little like slide with everything that you need on it for general science words. pretty sure you don't really need like a whole lot else. Independent variable, constant, direct, indirect relationships. Let me know if you need any like further, um, let me know if you need any like further clarification on any of these. Okay, so I did drop a couple of sample passages in Google Classroom. If you check the most recent thing that I posted like 20 minutes ago. So if you're not in the Google Classroom, and I hope you are at this point, I will drop the code in the chat like I should have done. And of course I mistype it. My bad. Second one. It's the one with 25. So I posted 3 sample passages. Please pull up the first one. It should look like this. There is like the first thing that you notice is like a big a bomb calorimeter, and you should see this stuff. So pull that up, and I will go ahead and start a timer for I will give you guys like 5.5 minutes actually, because like I get that it might take like a little bit longer, but you'll find that time isn't. So let's go ahead and start. Good luck. Actually, I will stop it real quick because I'm not sure if everyone has like the passage in front of them. I'll give you like a few extra seconds. Okay, you know, I'll just start. If you need extra time, then don't worry about it. Like, if you don't have like the passage pulled up quite yet. Oh, look who's back. Hello. So hopefully you finished. Blah. Here is the answer key, and I will talk about the passage, and then you'll see like kind of A, C, B, F, C. Oh, I typed it wrong. It's G, not C, G. Blech. I think I wrote it down as C on my as G on my paper, but I wrote it like too weirdly, so it looks like a G. My bad. That's a G. Sorry about that. So how'd you do? There's definitely no J. Nice. I'm seeing a lot of 5 out of 5s. Yay! Nice. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about this one real quick. I will exit share and let's just talk about this passage real quick. This one was the data representation thing. So let me go ahead and clear the drawings. Lol. Next. Okay, so sample passage 1. This one is about a calorimeter, and it is see, you look at this passage, don't bother reading it. Do not bother reading it. It is just, this is a thing that does a thing. The heat is measured in kilojoules, and it does a thing. Table 1 shows this. Table 2 shows that. Table 3 is completely useless and does not show up in any of the questions. I don't know why it's there. So don't worry about this either. It looks ugly. Just ignore it. Put it out of your head. So what is really important are table 1 and 2. You could, I guess, look at table 3, I guess, but I don't think it was in any of the questions. So let's talk about this. Like you can just like completely glaze over the initial stuff and go straight to the questions. Like this is actually like your strat for these questions. You want to completely ignore the initial information and then just go straight for the question, because a lot of the times they have a lot of useless stuff. It's for intimidation too. It scares you. So just I don't know why they have this much useless stuff. Like a lot of the passages they'll be talking about based on the information from here, from tables 1 and 2. Based on the passage, based off of the information from student number 2. They have lots and lots of that. They'll give you indications of where the information is. That's what sets it apart from reading, and that tells you like where to look for. And now the question is, can you take the information? Can you interpret it properly? So let's talk about number 1. I will talk about all of these because, like, you know, just in case. Okay, so number 1, according to tables 1 and 2, as the mass of successive sucrose samples increase, the change in water temperature produced when the sample was burned, most likely. Okay, so this one is, let's look at table 2. This is gonna we'll start from here, because as the amount of sucrose increases, that's the independent variable, that is what we're changing. So as the amount of sucrose increases, the heat increase released also increases. So that there's our direct relationship. Sucrose, and you can like make a little note of it too. Like make a little note that sucrose and then heat. Now we look at table 1. As heat goes up from here to here to here to here, the change in water temperature also seems to go up from here to here to here to here. Like it's monotonically increasing, as I said. So the change will also be increasing. So as sucrose increases, heat increases, change increases. Therefore, as this goes up, then this will also go up. Simple. Next, let me go down. Which of the following graphs best illustrates the relationship? Shouldn't it be 32.0 instead of 32? There are little. Okay, so that's a good question, and the reason for that is it's very close to doubling, but there are definitely like little errors. Like the amount of sucrose could just be like a little off from 2.0. Like the heat release, like the tool that you use to measure the heat release could be a little off. There could be like a little bit of bias. And that's something that just happens in science, but yeah, don't worry about it. The most important thing is just the pattern. Which of the following graphs best illustrates the relationship between the heat released by the foods in table 1 and the change in water temperature? So as the heat goes up, what does the water temperature do? It's literally just number 1. So as the change goes up, the heat released goes up. Pretty straightforward. So it's going to be G. I don't know why I said C, but yeah, it's G. Direct relationship. Direct, yeah. And F and J are basically like. So based on the data of table 2, one can conclude that when the mass of sucrose is decreased by 1/2, basically cut in half, the amount of heat released when it is burned in a bomb calorimeter will, well, basically you can just like compare 2 pieces of information. From if you take 1 gram of sucrose, you get 16. If you cut that in half to 0.5, you go down to 8. So it will also cut in half. So the answer is going to be B. Next one, which I think this one's the easiest one. Which of the following lists the foods from tables 1 and 2, literally just table 1, an increase in order of the amount of heat released per gram of food? So per gram of food, all of them are still the same. The question is asking about how much heat is released. So the least one is going to be a potato, and it's going to be an egg, and then a bread, and then cheese. And then make sure it's an increasing order. So is sucrose, yeah, is sucrose even a part of it? Yes, it is, because you still have 1 gram of sucrose. So you want to check for that. And it's going to release 16. So it's going to be near the end. It's going to be like right next to the cheese. So it's going to be potato, egg, bread, sucrose, and cheese. F. And then the last one, okay, this one's actually kind of tricky and non-intuitive. Based on the information of tables 1 and 2, the heat released from the burning of 5 grams of potatoes in a bomb calorimeter will most likely be closest to which of the following? The idea is that when you, like, it should be sort of similar to the sucrose thing. Like, as you double the sucrose, you will double the heat released. So it should be kind of the same for potato, because it's like, it's just, yeah. So there's no evidence to the contrary either. So when you look at the heat released, you multiply by 5, since it's going to be 5 grams of potato instead of 1 gram. So it's going to be C, 15. That one's a little bit tricky though. Oh yeah, and it also has sucrose. Yeah, good point. All right, so that is all for sample passage 1. If you have any questions, you could drop them in right now. I'll give you like 1 minute to catch your breath. Also to pull up, also take now to pull up sample passage 2. Don't look at it. We're about to go do that one. That one, the sample passage 2 is actually going to have like 7 questions instead, so it might take a little bit longer. But I'm not going to increase the timer because I'm me. So get out sample passage 2. Don't be scared. It's not that bad. Just like glance at it. I don't start until I tell you. Also, just like since we're at like halftime, here's a little shameless plug. If you have enough points, which you should have gotten, which hopefully you did get by doing like homework and stuff, you will hopefully have enough points to have access to the special sessions. And I hope you've seen at least a couple of those. They're very interesting. I will actually be hosting one on my own. Not on my own. I am going to be hosting one tomorrow with a couple of friends. We're going to be talking about math Olympiads if you're into that sort of thing. I can talk about my experience with the Math Olympiad summer program, so or MOP for short. So that'll be fun. Please come and say hello to me. You could like drop in a chat, hi, I'm from your ACT class, and I'll be like, oh hi. Yeah. When I grow up, I want to be a mopper. Yes, you can totally become a mopper, and then when you do, like, let me know. I will be very proud. Email the recording. It will probably be up on the website, so yeah, you hopefully see it. Okay, so it is 4:30, which means it is time to do sample passage 2. It will look like this. It will have this weird funnel thingy, and you will have 5.5 minutes to do it. So get started. Ready, set. Yeah, Amy, the special class tomorrow, I think the recording will be on the website. I'm not totally sure, so like, they do put up like special session recordings. Yeah, no problem. Okay, time is up. Well, here are the answers. BFVGDGA. How'd you guys do? Drop it in the chat if you want. Oh, this one was tricky. Yeah, yikes. Very fast. I will talk about all of them. Don't worry. Yeah, time is tricky. Wow, I have not seen a perfect score yet. So, oh, dang. Let us talk. Yeah, time is very, very fast. Let's talk about this one. Yikes. So, first of all, we have more scientific jargon. Like, do you care about whether nickel this thing? No, you really should not. You actually will have to care about this equation. Like, they'll ask you in the last possible moment. That is one of the occasions where they do ask a question and they expect you to have some prior. It is kind of a rare situation, but it does happen. Be at least a little prepared for it, and hopefully you'll get it. But so now they have more stuff. This is the experiment. Don't worry about it. Here is more stuff, more experiment. What is the difference between experiment 1 and 2? Nothing, except for the filtration method. There is standard and there is vacuum. Nice. And now you have the chart. This is the important part. Glance at the chart. Let's keep going. So let's start. So, oh, I skipped a question. Number 7, if a reaction time of 2 days would have been tested in experiment 1, the CNF will most likely have been, well, let's see. In 10 minutes you get 6, in 3 days you get 39, in 7 days you get 42. So it seems to be increasing, although the amount of increasing seems to be slowing down. So maybe if you drew a graph, it would look something like this, like approaches like an asymptote of some kind. But it should be increasing unless something like weird happens. So since there's no evidence to the contrary, it should be between 6 and 39. That'll be B. Okay, next one. Number 8, based on the experiment, based on the results of experiments 1 and 2, what combination of reaction time and filtration method results in the lowest concentration of dissolved nickel in the filtrate? So we want the lowest concentration, lowest CNF. That is going to be the one that has 6. So it should be trial 1, and it'll be 10 minutes. And the important thing about experiment 1 is that it is standard filtration. So it will be F, 10 minutes standard. So F, yeah. All right, number 9 is actually pretty tricky. And that's because was the net force exerted on the mixture in the funnel more likely greater? So let's look at what the funnel looks like. So we have a funnel, we have a filter paper, we have the mixture, and there's nothing else. This is standard filtration. But when you have a vacuum pump, it like sucks on the funnel and therefore applies like force to it, if that makes sense, which like constitutes to net force. And also it kind of makes sense like intuitively, like there is more stuff happening to it. So it will be the one that's attached to a pump, and it will be trial 6. Because the difference between 3 and 6 is just that. Is it vacuum or not? So it will be C. That one's tricky though. I don't have like a very, very good intuitive way of explaining it. All right, so number 10. In each trial, the students performed which of the following chronological sequences of steps? Keep in mind, chronological, like they have to be in order. And this is where like you should be glancing back at the experiment stuff. So what does happen in the experiment? So first step, let's just try and summarize. First, we mix OH and nickel. Now we stir it, then we recover it, and then whatever 4 is measure the concentration. So basically in your own words, that'll be add them together, you mix them, bro. You mix them together, filter in some way. This one varies, and then measure CNF. So that's like a pretty good place to like take a note. So let's go back to the question. What does happen in chronological order? It's definitely not F. You measure the CNF at the very end. In fact, you should be able to eliminate F and H by that. So it should be either G or J. And since we talked about how mixing came first, it would be. Yeah, nice. Okay, let me erase that. A student predicted that when solid monohydrate was recovered by vacuum filtration, a greater CNF will result for a reaction time of 3 days than for a reaction time of 10 minutes. Do the data in table 1 support this prediction? So CNF will be greater with time. I think that is like reasonably obvious. Like more time you spend to filter it, the more concentration you get. So therefore, anything that says no, you can just knock off. It'll not be A and B. So then which one is true? Is trial 1 have a greater CNF than trial 2, or trial 5 have a greater than trial 4? 1 has less than 2, but 5 has greater than 4. It is going to be D. Bing. Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah, they do also say vacuum. That is a good noticing. I did not notice that. Vacuum filtration. So you can just completely ignore 1 and 2, and then B is wrong because it says no. So like process of elimination means that you barely even have to look at the data. So very good. Thank you for pointing that out, Rohan. That is good. So 12. In how many of the 6 trials was nickel hydroxide the thingy recovered by standard filtration after it had been allowed to react for at least 3 days? So we have 6 trials, at least 3 days, standard filtration. So standard filtration already means that there's only 3. Of these 3, there's a 10-minute, 3-day, 7-day one. It's going to be 2. And the last one, this one is tricky. Based on the all right, so I sure hope you know a little bit of chemistry, because if you don't, then this is where I'm going to be explaining like a little bit. So so we're going to use 6 OH ions, and what ions basically are, in this case, they're basically just the unit. So how many formula units of this are produced? So let's go back to our thing. So we have 6 of this, and then we want to know how much of this we can get. Well, actually, so this is where a bit of chemistry comes in. What is this 2? This 2 is known as a coefficient, and it basically acts like as it would in algebra. Basically, it kind of shows the ratio between ions. So to perform this reaction, you will need a ratio of 1 to 2 to 1 of nickel hydroxide and water to create this nickel hydroxide monohydrate thing. So basically all of the coefficients refer to ratios. So you have a 1 to 2 to 1 to 1. There's just keep an eye out for the coefficients. So basically it will be a 2 to 1 ratio. So for 6 of these, you will have 3 of these. That is a thing from chemistry. If you have not taken it yet, then yeah, this is going to be a bit tricky. But if you haven't taken chemistry yet, then don't worry too much about the ACT. So it's going to be A. Okay, wow, the chat is like exploding. Oh, you're in 6th grade. I see. If you're like, yeah, it is very this is a very rare situation where you do need to know a bit of chem knowledge. So just like missing one question, it's like totally fine. Don't worry about it. Like if you get a 36 as a 6th grader, like that is insane. And even if you get like a 34 or something as a 6th grader, that's like really, really good. So let's talk about, okay, so now I will give you a few minutes to actually pull up sample passage 3. This is going to be the last one. It won't be as bad, I think. So make sure you already have it pulled up. How many points is a perfect score? 36. Okay, so yeah. Okay, so I'll talk okay, after this section I will talk a little bit about ACT grading and stuff because I realized because I saw from the feedback that I didn't actually like talk too much about the details of that. My bad. So but for now we need to work on sections. So this next section, you look at it, plasmids, whatever the heck that is. There are only 5 questions, so I will go ahead and start the timer. Good luck, have fun. Hello. Time's up. Well, let me start my camera. Yeah. Hello. Yeah, this is definitely a bit better, I think. So answers. I actually did see someone who got a perfect score like already because they already dumped their answers in the chat, so nicely done. BJCFD. Yay! Yeah, this one's definitely a fair bit better. Yeah. Wow, I'm seeing lots of fives. Nice. Let's get it. All right, so for the sake of time, since there are a couple of like last minute things I do want to talk about, is there any specific question I should talk about? Because if not, we could just like actually definitely like give me like one question. Okay, 11. Yeah, sure. What parts of the passage? Okay, so wow, I'm really impressed at how you guys did on this one because this one is actually one of those conflicting viewpoint ones, which means that it is a little bit like it is a bit challenging to read. What parts are unimportant? I think for conflicting viewpoints, I think you should probably at least glance at all of it, but go for the questions first still. So let's talk about number 11. Based on the information presented, if the transfer of the linear copy was interrupted 50 minutes after transfer began, how many complete genes would have been transferred to the recipient bacteria? There's something right here. The students determined at the end. Wait, no. They also determined that the genes are evenly spaced about the plasmid, so one gene is transferred every 15 minutes. So, but 50 divided by 15, take the floor. It's going to be 3, which is going to be your answer, B. I think the trick for that one, since you have to like find the information first, and you know it's a bunch of words. Look for a number. They ask for 50 minutes. Look for something min, like 90 min, 15 min. That should automatically like clue you in on where it should be. Yeah. Yeah, very good. Okay, so since we have like 5 minutes left, I might actually just like so that's probably gonna be all. I'm still gonna assign homework, but it is like completely optional. If you want to get points, then like go. Well, I'm not sure how much more use points will be. So I will assign homework because you know it's good to get practice, but it is not mandatory. Let me think of what else I should say. So special sessions. Another thing that I should plug again. Do special sessions. Also, there will be a couple of other classes. Like there are a couple new classes that popped up. Namely, there is SAT math, which honestly, like if you did not find ACT math to be too difficult, you probably won't find SAT math too hard. But SAT, like I mean, it's still probably helpful to go to because SAT is, you know, the SAT. Might as well try it top perfect. So the next one is writing. As a person who really likes writing, I totally recommend it. So go for it. And the last one is world history. Personally, I'm not the biggest fan of world history, but I would definitely appreciate a class on that. So might even drop in. So that should be all. And okay. So thank you guys. So some final words. Thank you guys for being really great students. It was really nice to get to know you guys, even though I don't actually get to talk to you. I'm very proud of like how well you guys did on like the homework assignments. Like all of the scores are like very like almost completely very high, which is super impressive. Especially since I think a lot of you guys, I think like a good portion of you guys are probably middle schoolers. I'm kind of making a generalization. You're a high schooler though, then still you're doing great. But I'm gonna guess that a lot of you guys are middle schoolers, which means that you guys are doing wonderful because like the ACT is normally something that people take in like 11th or 10th grade. So there's that. You guys did great. I'm very proud. So come to my special session tomorrow if you want to say hi. I will talk about MOP. It is great. I will also be talking about like my entire experience with doing math, so it will be a bit long, but I'm sure that I will try my best to make it like as interesting as possible. So with that being said, I will one more thing is I will drop the link to the Kid Teach Kid survey in the chat. Doc. Okay, so the thing, student survey. Just go on the website, check classes, check student survey. Let me link it in the chat. If you already did it, then don't worry about it. There is an essay portion of the ACT, but that's not something I'm going to talk about because it's like not very easy to teach. So here you go. There is the student survey link. Please do it. Feedback is good. So with that being said, please reach out to me if you need anything. Like I will still be checking my email, and also stay in touch with Kid Teach Kid because we'll be doing like some more stuff as the semester begins. Probably won't be full on classes because we know that you guys are busy, and I'm like a high school junior. I'm gonna be very busy. So but yeah, stay in touch. I'm very proud and hope to see you guys in the near future. If you ever see me in person, if you live in Austin, then come say hi. My email. If you want my personal email, oh, actually, I just email me at the Kid Teach Kid thing. Let me pull that out. Like it's the one that I'm running the Google Classroom on, so it should be pretty easy to find. So if you ever have questions about like how to make MOP, I'm not sure if I would actually answer that question, but like if you have questions specifically about math, then like I would be very. I think that's it. Yeah. So with that being said, bye. It has been really great.